Hey, this is Commander Bacon, and today we're going to learn two new knots. We're going to learn the sheet bend and the clove hitch. Stay tuned. Okay, so the two knots that we're going to tie today are the sheet bend and the clove hitch. So first we're going to talk about the clove hitch. So in Ashley's Book of Knots, which I have the book here, let me show you. This is an awesome book. It's a big book. Clifford Ashley. It's a very expensive book. If you open up the cover, US $62.50. But anything that you find online, any kind of knot book or apps or whatever, they always refer back to Ashley Book of Knots. That is the sole authority on knot tying. So for that reason, I went ahead and bought the book because I thought it was going to be very useful. And it is. It's an extremely useful book. So in Ashley's Book of Knots, this is what he writes. He said, originally, the clove hitch was included here with the intention of condemning it. It does have two giant faults. It slips and paradoxically can also bind. It should be deeply distrusted when used by itself. So whenever you do use a clove hitch, you want to follow it up with a couple half hitches or something like that to totally secure it. So some of the applications, of course, it's the hitch that they use with horses in the Old West or even nowadays. But you train a horse to where it feels a little bit of resistance and it will stop pulling, right? But if you're trying to moor your boat to a dock and you're using clove hitches, a strong wind can blow that boat away and put a lot of force on it and it'll just slip. So that's where the caution comes in. So the clove hitch has various other applications. For example, in the theater, it is used to adjust the height of stage curtains hanging from a bar. And in boating, it can be used to initially position a fender hanging from a rail. Both ways we'll go over. Okay, we're not going to tie a boat, but we're gonna look at it. So here's I'm not going to tell you this. This was an anecdotal kind of thing. Said a friend. This is from Grog's Knots. He said, I watched a friend try to dock his 53-foot Hatteras. Each time the bow mooring line was handed to the marina assistant, he used a clove hitch to attach the line to the dock's post. The offshore wind was blowing the stern away, so my friend used his engines to swing the stern in. Each time he did so, the strain was too much for the clove hitch, which slipped undone. This process was repeated over and over again, and then it became apparently obvious that was the only knot the guy knew. So, and after many very heated insistence that he use a different knot, it was clear the guy didn't know any other knots. So the other knot we're going to talk about is the sheet bend. The sheet bend is used primarily to tie different size ropes together. Remember the last time when we talked about the square knot or the figure eight knot, that it was a weighting knot. So this is exactly what I was talking about. You'd have bigger ropes that need to be pulled in from the large ships, and the way to attach it is with a sheet bend. But probably you would want to use a double sheet bend, and we'll show you that too. So we're going to. Why is it called a sheet bend? Is if it's tying two different size ropes together? Well, that's because you could tie the sheet from the sail, they call them sheets, the corner of it to a rope. You can use the same method. You can tie flags, the corner of flags, if you're doing like a primitive type camping kind of thing and you're setting up flags or whatever. Boy Scout application, they have their patrol flags. You can tie the corners of the flag to a rope and hoist it up. So that's the uses of it. That's what we're going to talk about. So stay tuned while I flip the camera, and we'll show you how to tie these 2 knots. These are pretty easy. Stay tuned. All right, so we're going to tie the clove hitch. This is one way of tying it, where here's what I do. So I go around the vertical piece, go under this, then I kind of hold this. Can you see that? And then go around it again and go through that loop that I had formed by holding that. And that's the clove hitch. The 2 ropes should be parallel to each other with a diagonal cutting across it. Okay, that's the clove hitch. And if I pull really hard, you can see how it slips, right? It slipped loose. If you yank it a little bit, I mean, it can slip. But like I said, some people use that as the start for lashing. Some people use a square knot as a start for lashings. The square knot adds a little bit of bulk to it, so I usually prefer starting it with a clove hitch. So next, what we're going to do is show you how to do it if you just want to flip loops over top. Okay, so what you do is you do, I call these underhand loops. So I'm going to form an underhand loop. See how it loops and goes under this piece, and then form another underhand loop. Put them together, drop them down over that, and I've got a clove hitch. Okay, see that? Let me do that one again. I'll do both again. So the first one is we're going to wrap it around, go under the standing part, and immediately go over top. But I'm going to hold this part and wrap it around and take it through that loop that I formed. And there you go. Okay, let me do that one more time. So I'm going to wrap it around, go underneath, and as soon as it goes past it, I'm going to raise it up and hold it up vertically like that. And wrap it around one more time, and I'm going to go through that loop that I just formed. Okay? So there's, you have the 2 ropes coming out parallel, right? And you have a diagonal going across it. That's when you know you have it tied right. So the loop method, dropping it down over top. You do an underhand loop. That's an underhand loop. See that? And do a second underhand loop next to it. And you take this loop and put it over top of that loop, and then drop it down over top of it. And there you have your clove hitch. Okay? Practice this one. It takes a little bit of practice. You have to think about it. I don't tie it often, so a lot of times I'll have to think about it and before I tie it. But once you do it, once you do a lot of lashing projects, it's pretty quick and easy to remember. So stay tuned and we'll do the sheet bend. All right, here you can see we've got 2 different size ropes, 2 different diameter ropes, okay? They're both synthetic fiber, and that makes a difference because if you had natural fiber, this sheet bend would grab really good. So anyway, so what you do is you form a bite. Remember we talked about that before in the basics of rope crap, or ropes and knots. So there's your bite. It's just a bend in the rope. It's nothing more complicated than that. And what you're going to do is you're going to come up through the loop and go around everything. And you're going to lift up on this and shove that through. And then you're going to pull on the long end. But because this is so slippery, watch how that kind of slips. But after a while, it gets tight. But see how that slips? That's not good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around this bad boy twice. We're going to go around here and then through it again. Now this is a double sheet bend, right? Now we draw everything up tight. And it's not slipping, okay? So when you have slippery ropes, just wrap it again. It's not that hard. Let me go through it again. We'll do it one more time. The sheet bend. This is your big rope. Okay, so there's a bunch more over here. This is just one end of it, right? And here's your smaller rope. And it extends on out this way also. So I'm trying to tie a smaller rope to a larger rope. Okay? So I'm going to take it up through that loop, go around. All right. I'm going to lift that up and shove it through there. And what it does, it puts it on a bind right there. And then I'm going to pull on the long part of the smaller rope, and I'm just going to kind of work it together. And that's it. I don't know if that white shows up that well. Let's do it with the black rope. we got too many ropes, too many knots from the other day. So, all right. So here's the black rope. Maybe this will show up better. Again, same thing. You go up, through, go around all of it, and then through this loop right here. Okay? And that's why I said it can kind of, if you jiggle it and bounce it, it could fall apart in your hands. But that is a sheet bend. Why does that come in handy? Well, you can use it to tie down tarps too. So there's a lot of different ways to tie down tarps. We'll get into that when we go into the camping part of it. So it'll be practical applications of knots. Right now, you're learning theories of knots and how to tie the knots. We'll get into some practical applications of the knots when we get into more of the camping skills. We'll go outside, we'll do some stuff, and you'll see these knots and how they're applied in a real world situation. So again, if you tied this and you're like, man, this thing is slipping, you just want to pull a little bit more up and take it around a second time. All right, and get those wraps kind of tight. And there you go. So now that's tight and secure. This is pretty important too if this is a much bigger rope. You might, what if this was a rope about that size? Then you might take even 2 or 3 wraps around there. Okay? That makes sense to everybody? I hope you all get it. Practice it. Tie it and untie it. Another good rope to use while you're learning your knots is paracord. Everybody has paracord, right? Paracord is like the duct tape of the rope world. And it's small enough that you can fiddle with it and doesn't have a lot of bulk. So stay tuned. Okay, so that was the sheet bend and the clove hitch. I hope you learned something. I hope you can successfully tie it on your own. If not, go back and watch this video over and over again. Again, I can't recommend enough the animated knots by Grog. I did check it today. It is $5. So a little pricey for an app, but it's something that you can use over and over and over again. And if you have family share on, then you buy it once and everybody in your family has the app, right? So anyway, I hope this was worth watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If it was, hit the like button. If you like what you see and you want to keep watching more, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell so that you know whenever a new whenever we post a new video. Don't mind this mess back here. Ugh, I gotta clean that up. So anyway, this is Commander Bacon signing off. Have a good day.